Hello, Froggy.
Hello, Caesar. You been up to some shenanigans?
No, I've been just fine.
Okay.
What's that you got there?
Oh, this is my new fiddle. Care for a little tune?
Sure.
Okay, but you gotta give me a little jig.
Hello and welcome to Caesar's Snack Sandwich. Today we're on Ethereum with a sponsored video from the Froggies at defiyield.info. Now, if you're like me, you've understood a little bit about impermanent loss and you get the idea of it, but you kind of stay away from it. So you probably do one of two things. If you're like me, you just completely avoid the opportunities of liquidity pools, or you do something like other people where you supply to the liquidity pools and hope for the best, right? Now, these guys here have produced some tools in order to help people to understand impermanent loss better. And today we're going to go through these two tools. The first one is this guide, which is a pretty long Medium article. It has a reading time of 13 minutes, as you can see, but it would probably take you quite a bit longer than 13 minutes to read it because it's pretty technical in some senses, and it's not straightforward, easy to understand like a simple story. It's not a children's story, so you'll have to probably read it a few times. However, I think it's worth reading, and you can get some pretty good information out of it. The second thing is we will actually go over to the calculator that they talk about. You see down here, down, they produced a calculator. Where's the link? Anyhow, calculators on their website. I will show you the calculator soon after I read through some of the key points of this. Now, like I said, it's 13 minutes long read, so I'm not going to read through everything. I'm just going to skip through a few things, and I do suggest that you come and at least read this. Spend 13 minutes or maybe a little bit longer and read this yourself. Okay, I think it will be helpful in a general sense. Okay, so let's go down through it, and then I'll go over to the calculator afterwards. So the first thing it does is it talks about automatic market makers. If you don't know what an automatic market maker is, it's basically Uniswap and so forth. It talks about why they're about. And before we used to use like Coinbase and Binance and stuff like that, the centralized exchanges. And now we're trying to, there's a lot more automatic market makers popping up all over the place in DeFi. So, it gives an example of Uniswap here. So that's pretty much what it just talks about the use case and the need for them. And then down here it talks a little bit about impermanent loss. It has some definitions in here and gives you a general idea. And there's one sentence in here that I've highlighted that I think is important to read. It says, prices of tokens volatile and diverge in one or another direction. So basically, impermanent loss usually occurs when one token, its price moves away from the other token. So maybe one token's value goes up and the other token's value goes down. That would be a large divergence, but we also get a divergence if one token stays the same and the other token goes up or down. So that's what it's talking about here in the other direction. So one is staying the same, the other one's going up, and the other one's going down. So the price, the ratio of the two of them changes, right? So that's pretty much how I understand the risk of impermanent loss where it comes from. Now, as we move down, there's a lot of calculations here. It's starting to get a little bit into the weeds and stuff. And then it says here, arbiters are triggered. So this is something I knew before, but they brought it out, and it's important. It's not, the pool itself does not cause the impermanent loss. What people, or robots in this case, they're usually robots that have, triggers. They have certain parameters they're constantly watching the pool, and when there's a opportunity for a cheaper ETH at this pool than another ETH at another pool, they will buy the ETH here and sell it over there for a profit. So it talks a lot about where the arbiters and why they can get some sort of benefit out of doing this. And you have to keep in mind, the important thing is an arbiter, when he takes ETH out of this pool and sells it over there for a profit, then he's taking that profit from the people who supplied the liquidity to the liquidity pool. Now it's kind of important, like we need them to keep these things balanced. So it's kind of a cost. Some people look at it as a cost of arbitrage, and other people think of it as a theft of arbitrage. So it's up to you to decide what you think of it. So moving down, we get some graphs, and you'll see this all over the place when you see impermanent loss. I'm not going to explain this. You can read. So now he talks about how to mitigate impermanent loss. And the first way he talks about is mirror assets. So these are like the assets you see in curve finance, where every asset inside the pool is pegged to the same price, and they generally don't fluctuate drastically, right? So if you take a look at his examples, you have SETH versus ETH. So DAI versus USD. So these are ETH versus ETH. The price of synthetic ETH versus the price of real ETH should be pretty close, and they should go up together. And the same with DAI and USDC. They're both pegged to the US dollar. So they will fluctuate. They will have a small amount of impermanent loss at sometimes. But for the most part, they will stay at the same price or close enough to it that you won't, feel the impermanent loss drastically. So then we move down. Then he talks about the idea of like 50-50 pools are what you see in Uniswap and SushiSwap. And then you see some other kinds of pool stables, like some other ratios of stables. And we have 80-20, 95-5, and even 98-2. Now what this means is the ratio of one token to the other token. So in the case of, maybe ETH and DAI, or ETH USD, you would have ETH 50 and USDC 50. Or in this case, you would have ETH 98 and USDC 2. So these are the tokens, the ratio of the pool. So you'd have to look around. There's some protocols that offer these strange ratios. We'll call them strange ratios, but there's quite a few pools out there now, like Value Finance and also the Balancer pools. Okay, so you can look around for these kind of pools, because this article totes them as being quite important and valuable. Okay, so he gets into some the weeds in here and talks about like why it's like such a big difference, right? And he says at first glance the 3% difference between this is only 5 and 2. There's only 3% ratio difference, right? He would say, oh, it doesn't seem so noticeable, right? So, but it's actually quite different, and he shows it down through some numbers. So before he gets into before he explains why this is not a true thing to say, that it's not very noticeable, he talks a little bit about this death spiral. And this death spiral is the case of like one token just keeps going up in value, and the other token stays the same or goes down. It doesn't follow the other one up in value, or the opposite. The death spiral is also one token just gets dumped. People are just dumping it like crazy, and the other's token stays the same or actually goes up in value or doesn't go down as much. So we get these death spirals where the one token is just dropping in value so much, and the other token keeps buying it because it wants to maintain that 50% of the value of the tokens. This is not a count of tokens. This is a USDC, usually, or US dollar value of each of the tokens. Okay? So you need to understand that. So as one token's value goes down, the other token needs to buy a whole bunch of them in order to keep the value 50-50. Okay, so he talks about that a little bit, and this is a good read. You should probably read this section if you're going to only read a few pieces of it. And then he talks about these factors that can cause impermanent loss, and one of the things is the balancer swing. This is an important thing. He doesn't, his calculator doesn't label it as balancer swing, but it's important, and that is the amount of times that the arbitrageurs come in and pull from the pool, basically. Okay. So let's read what it says. An iteration during which the balancer equalizes the value of assets in the pool by selling or buying one of the tokens from the pair. So like I said, this is when the arbitrage comes in and rebalances 50-50, or if the pool happens to be 98-2, then back to 98-2. Okay? So then he talks a little bit, he shows like some examples of like, these are the steps, these are the balancer steps. Each one of these is a step of the arbitrage coming in and buying up one token with the other token, right? So he shows how, with a 50-50 pool, the first one, it goes to within 10 steps of this size of the steps. The steps have a certain size in this in these. The amount of change of the price, right, is a certain size in all of these 4 examples, or all these 3 examples. But he shows that after 10 steps, you get a 93.7% impermanent loss. So if you look down, you see a token starts with the USDC. You start with 50,067 of this magic token, and then as this magic token starts going, this magic token starts going down in value, then the USDC is buying more and the quantity is going up, and you're getting a whole bunch of loss. Okay? So I go down, then he shows the example of the 95.5 and the 95.2, and then he brings it all together. So read this again as well. Please go through this carefully and try to understand it as best you can. I don't have time to show you, to explain everything in high detail, but I'll give you some ideas, okay? So as you can see, the losses of the 95 to 5. So if you take the comparison, so the first pool was 95. At the end of 10 rows, okay, at the end of 10 steps, at the end of 10 arbitrages, the pool had lost 25%. The 50-50 lost 93%, which is almost all of it, right? So almost all of the value is gone, right? Because, you know, the value is gone from the token dropping and the other one buying it, right? So the other pool, you just got like 25%, but this one is only 11%. So if you look at the difference between these, it's like twice as the power. So just this 3% change of 5 to 8 is like, you know, quite a bit of difference. You know, half your losses are mitigated, right? So this article is kind of toting the idea that this pool is superior to these pools, for sure. Now, definitely to the 50-50 in that sense, okay? So this is something you can decide for yourself by, you know, understanding, reading this, thinking about it, looking at it, okay? There are a lot of 50-50 pools out there, and it's the most common. There's not so much of these, but it seems to be, by reading this and thinking about this, it seems to be a wiser choice to me. Now, I'm no expert, but I think it seems to be a better choice, especially by this understanding based on this article. So as you go down, you get some more explanations, some more graphs to kind of show you what's going on. And then down here, there's some more important things. The 98.2 per in comparison is much less risky, but it won't guarantee the lack of losses completely. So it's, you know, it's the 98.2 isn't the ultimate solution. It's a mitigator. It's probably the best solution at the time of the writing of this article that we can come across. Okay? And then he gets into how to calculate impermanent loss and some mathematical equations and basically assets. But the problem with most of the tools out there, this part here, I didn't highlight it, but anyhow, the problem with most of the tools out there is that they are limited in their functionality and they don't tend to show you price over time. These are usually, these formulas that are used in most tools are for single points of time. There's no time changing. It's a single time factor in here. So they only have the one time that you could put inside to see how long it goes. So whereas they've built this impermanent loss calculator that allows you to see time as it's going. So you'll see it when we go to the graph. There's like a whole bunch. It shows all the steps similar to these graphs here. So each one, it's showing you each step as it, you know, it slowly degrades and degrades and degrades. I'll show you some more examples when we go into the actual calculator. And then he talks a little bit about, you know, why the calculator works so well and, you know, how to use it, you know, what the inputs are. But I will show you on the calculator, and it gives you some examples of what the calculator looks like, and then talks about the conclusions. Now let's go through the conclusions one more time just to make sure we have a good idea. So first thing is talk about impermanent loss, which he did in the start of the article. Then he talks about, you know, mirror assets are, you know, pretty safe against impermanent loss. However, if you're not going to use mirror assets, these are proportionally better. You know, this is 50 times, you know, twice as good as this, and this is a whole lot better than 50-50. And then he talks about, you know, this is the 3% different is 2 times the loss, which I explained. And then, you know, come here and you can try this calculator out for free. Okay, so links to this article in the description, as well as to the calculator, which I will go to now. Okay, so when you first come into here, you get prompted with the impermanent loss calculator, and here's the input section. Now down here you can click on this and it'll take you back to that Medium article that I went through already. And so there's a few things you need to put in here, okay? So first thing you want to do is put in the value. Let's just put something simple, 1,000 US dollars. So this is the total value of all the assets you're going to put into this impermanent loss calculator, or the pool that you're considering, right? So here it allows you to put either the address, the token address, which is that like hexadecimal token address, and here's the token name. So it has a lot of the major tokens. So I'll just put uni, I guess. And for now, let's use a stable coin so that we don't have to, there's no change in value on this. So we have uni versus USDC, okay? So the current price of uni is $9, and the current price of USDC is 99.99999 cents, right? So this is a very good feature, is that it has these price feeds already in here. So if you were to change through like any of these tokens that are popular, you would be able to get some price, the actual price feeds for them, okay? I'm not sure where these price feeds are coming from, and I don't know. So anyhow, so pool weight. So here you'd have 50%, 50-50. So let's stick with the 50-50 for now because they're the most dramatic. But you can move this along, right? And adjust it accordingly, right? So I could bring this up to 98 or 96.4 or whatever. It depends on the pool, right? But let's, like I said, let's stick with 50-50. And here's the price change, okay? And click on here for detailed configuration. So for USDC, I'm going to maintain a steady price of 0% change. These are percentages, by the way. Okay, but on this one, I'm going to add just 100, okay? And the last one here is how many steps will it take to get to 100% change? So $9 to $18, right? So how long will it take for this price to change 100%? Okay, so you can do 30 steps or go down to 15 steps. It's like drasticness, right? So 2 steps, like just in 2 days, boom, boom, it goes up, right? So let's stick with, let's just go for the normal 15 for this example. And then we press calculate. And then you're met with this chart. Now, when you first see this, you're pretty blown away. I'm like, oh, what's all this? All these things, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of data in here that you probably don't need to really look at. But it's all here for the people who really want to understand what's going on. So I like this, and I think it can be useful, right? So let's take a look at some of the factors here. So here we have the initial step of $9. So when we first bought, uni was at $9, right? And then, how many unis. This is the quantity of unis, and this is the value of unis. So we have like 500 and 500, right? So we got 55 of these, and the USDC price was $1 at that time. Well, it's like 99.99, so it just rounds it up to 9, I guess, $1. So and this is how many, how much value. So at the start, we get 500 and 500 and no losses and so forth, and 0% spiral loss, right? So now as the price of uni goes up to $18, like I said, 100% up, you can see that the values are changing. So let's take a look. The amount of uni in the pool is slowly going down. Now you have to keep in mind that this does not take into account any trading fees that are added into it. But you can see that, as the price goes up, the actual amount of uni goes down, which is not good, right? And the amount of uni value is going up because, it's worth more, right? So next we can see over here, the USDC start amount is $500, and it goes up to $697. So the point here is that if you had kept the uni, you would have had 55 uni times $18. Okay, and that's basically what it's going to show over here on this side, is some of the losses that you've taken, because you've basically sold a whole bunch of uni. So you've sold around 15 uni and that's why the USDC has gone up, because the USD price hasn't changed, right? So the USD is constantly, being bought with uni. So uni is being sold for USDC. That's why the USDC is going up, because the USDC value shouldn't go up because the actual price is staying static, but you're getting more and more and more USDC in your pool. Okay, so this is the kind of idea of impermanent loss. This is not a terrible case because it's only gone up 100%, and there's, you know, it's not a negative because it's actually going up in value. But if you had just kept this 55 uni, you would be more well off. Okay, you'd be 8% better, as you can see over here. So here are the actual numbers of uni lost, the actual quantity. So here you've lost 0 of them, and by the end of the 15 steps you've lost 16 uni. I estimated it at about 15, but it's 16, okay? And then the USDC loss is actually a positive number, so you've gained 210 USDC, so the quantity of USDC has gone up, and your uni has gone down, right? And here are the $2 values. So your dollar value was, you've gone to 209, and your loss is, you got a positive of 209 as well. Now this is a little bit hard to understand, but think about it, okay? This 209 is because uni has gone up 100%, from $9 to 2 to 18. However, if you had not put it in this pool, this 209 would be, well, 418, right? Which is seen here, okay? If you had decided just to hold on to the uni, you would have this much worth of uni instead of, you know, half and half of USDC and uni, okay? So now this is like a 50-50 pool, right? Let's play with the numbers a little bit more, okay? Let's go something like, let's say you need 500%, which is quite a bit, but let's just see what happens. So we go from $9 all the way to $54, which is not completely unlikely in cryptocurrencies. And here we have a huge loss of 98%. So in the same amount of steps, we've lost 32 uni this time, which is a, you know, we've gotten to a value of 758 when we should have a value of 1,500 for the uni itself. Okay, so you know, this is a cool calculator to play with. And I can't get into all the little details in here because this video will be a long time. But I do recommend that you read through that article and you come here and you play with these numbers, you know. You can change the pool size, you know, play around with that, like what he recommends, you know. Go to the 98. Let's change this 98 and 2 and keeping the 500 and see if this number changes drastically. 98%, calculate. We've got 9%. So you play around with this, so it'll help you to understand impermanent loss quite a bit more. You probably won't, you know, if you play with this for 10 minutes, you probably won't be better off than you were before. However, if you do spend some good time, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, sticking around, playing with these numbers, looking at things, you have a much deeper understanding of impermanent loss. And I do believe it's worth the time to come inside and at least play around with it a few times, and maybe even come here. Now, there is one factor of this that is lacking, and that is this here. This is predictive. Like how are you going to know this number? It's a prediction. You're guessing at it. This is more about helping you to predict whether or not you should take part in some pool, you know, like a uni USDC pool. Now, I wouldn't suggest you'll notice if you look around, there's very few like coins versus stable coins because of the drastic, you know, chances of impermanent loss. You're basically just going to be constantly selling this token for that token. And if this token goes negative, let's say it was minus 50. Oops, I need a minus 50 and calculate. So if the price dropped from $9 down to $4.50, then you would still end up with a small amount of impermanent loss, but you know, you would end up with a lot more uni and a lot less USDC. So that's kind of what happens, right? So come in here, play around with this, you know, have some fun, you know, learn about some impermanent loss, and hopefully it helps you. It's helped me to understand things a little bit better. I don't know if I've explained it clearly to you, but, you know, try not to be off-put by these. Like I said, like the data all in here, all these little columns, they're just, you know, it's not redundant data, but it's extra data that perhaps you don't need. Just, you know, take a look at it, okay? And have fun, okay? Good luck with your trading, and I hope you found some value in this. And thanks to Defi Yield for sponsoring this video. Goodbye. Hello, thank you so much for watching, and if you'd like to support the channel, there are a few ways you can help me out a lot. Number one is I have a Gitcoin grant. This is a pretty unique way to help out. Basically, the way this system works is if you supply me with any kind of donation, then the protocol itself will also match your donation with like an increasing amount the more and the more the people donate to me. So for example, if you were to give me 1 DAI, the protocol will give me 4 DAI, which is great, you know, so your 1 DAI can go a long way. So please feel free to come here and check this out. You know, link to this will be in the description. Another way you could support me is by going to YGift, link in the description. And here, where this says collect for me, it would say tip. You tip this, and you could give me some YUSD if you want. And that would definitely help me out quite a bit. Another way you could support me is you could check out my Rarible store and purchase an NFT. Now, the best kind of support is just you watching my videos and liking them and subscribing. So if you did that, thanks so much for doing that, and goodbye.